Welcome to How I'd Lose 20 Kilos in 6 months. My name is Amelia, and I'm the health and wellness coach here at Innerfit for Women. Now, if you're someone who's ever said, I don't know what to do, I just can't stick to it when it comes to your weight loss or your health, then this is totally going to be for you. Today, I'm going to walk through exactly how I would lose 20 kilos in the next 6 months and exactly what I would ask my clients to do to lose 20 kilos in the next 6 months without extreme diets, excessive cardio, or cutting out all of your favorite foods. And yes, this strategy works even if you've tried everything else and nothing sticks. Now let's start with a bit of a vision. Imagine it's 6 months' time. You've dropped 20 kilos, predominantly of body fat. Your clothes feel amazing. You're eating real food and food that you like. You've got energy again. And you're not tracking every single crumb of food that goes in your mouth. And you are not spending hours and hours and hours at the gym. No, ladies, that is not a fantasy. That is the exact outcome that I help women achieve. And today I'm going to show you how to start that journey. Now, why have I chosen 6 months and why 20 kilos? Because for most women starting at 85, 90 kilos or more, losing 20 kilos is a realistic, sustainable, and life-changing transformation when you do it the right way. Now, could you try and lose it faster? Absolutely, you could try, but you'd be sacrificing muscle, which actually burns calories for you. You'll be trashing your energy, trashing your hormones and your mood. And the faster you lose it, the more likely you are to regain it all and then some. And we're not doing that. So instead, I'm going to walk you through the exact approach that I use with my clients who are seeing consistent and lasting results. And I'd even do this with myself if I had 20 kilos to lose. Now, before we get started, there are a few disclaimers. Always seek the advice of your medical professional before you start on your health and weight loss journey, especially if you have a history of medical issues. Now, that being said, I'm not going to recommend anything extreme, anything out of the ordinary. I'm not going to recommend you buy products or supplements or go and get a gym membership or anything like that. The advice here is simple and ready for you to implement today. But as always, please seek the advice of your healthcare provider. Now, the second disclaimer today is that this strategy is for people who actually have 20 kilos or more of body fat to lose. So take a moment now to actually decide if you even have 20 kilos of body fat to lose. Now, as a general rule, then, I'm talking about people who are 85, 90 kilos or more, not 65 kilos, and they want to be 45. We need to be realistic. Now, having said that too, the strategies we talk about today absolutely can be adjusted and implemented for a 10 kilo loss in the next 6 months or a 40 kilo loss in the next 12 months. Although I actually have a better strategy for someone who's got 40 kilos to lose. And I can go through that in another video. If you actually need that, if you know that you need like 30 or 40 kilos, maybe drop a 40 in the comment below and then we can get that training going as well. Because losing 20 kilos is very different to losing 40 kilos. Okay, so before we start to build this plan, we need to start somewhere, right? So what I always say is that you can't change what you're not aware of. So the first thing we need to do is a simple self-audit. So here are 3 questions for you to answer honestly. And I'll get you to answer these too when you are a client of mine as well. So we need to look at how many steps a day are you currently doing? How many workouts or intentional movement sessions are you doing per week? and what percentage of your food is processed versus whole foods, natural foods. Now, don't guess this. If you are someone who has apps like Fitbit or a food tracker, look those apps up. Maybe you need to spend a couple of days writing it down. Maybe you need to reflect on what you've actually eaten over the last few days or done the last few days, because this is where we start. And from here, once you find this starting point, I can actually show you how to level up without overhauling your entire life, which is actually where a lot of programs and diets and whatever goes wrong, because we try and overhaul the entire lifestyle without finding where we can make a few simple tweaks. And that's what I'm going to show you. Plus, at this point, the biggest data that you can get is a picture of yourself in your underwear. Nothing will tell you more about your progress than photos will. So take some pictures, keep them safe, and use them every month over this 6-month journey to see your progress. You won't be able to see all the changes in the mirror every month because you're seeing them every day. So take some photos, and I promise you, if you follow what we put here in tonight's session, you will be pleasantly surprised. So go through all of your apps that you have to track your food, to track your steps, to track your exercise, your calories burned. Go through all of them and get that real data. Now, just a quick note before we dive in, everything I talk about today, the steps, the food structure, the tracking, workouts, can actually be done inside one app. Now, if you are someone who, like I said before, has a different food tracking app and a different step tracking app and a different exercise app, and maybe you've got an app for your sleep, and maybe you've got a different app that helps give you some workouts to do, and you're going through multiple apps at once, our Innerfit for Women app is all in one. And we can actually guide you through a phase like this with meal ideas and recipes, with on-demand and guided workouts. We even have the Les Meals library in our app. You've got all your tracking needs in the one app: food, water, sleep, steps, workout, everything that you need. A progress dashboard to keep you motivated. And if you want it, our coaching team is right there for check-ins and accountability. So no, you don't have to figure it out on your own. The plan is built for you in there. And if you need to go from like 3 or 4 apps down to one, we can help you with that. All right, so you've got that data with your steps, your food, your whole foods versus processed foods, your steps, your workouts. You've got all that data. Now we're going to start planning out your strategy. So this is phase 1. This phase is where we stop overhauling everything at once and actually start to build momentum in a way that your body can handle and that your brain won't reject, right? Because we want to forget the all or nothing mindset. That is how most women burn out with their health. Instead, we're going to create progress by just doing more than what you're already doing for now. Now, for most women, this simple shift will yield huge long-term and sustainable results. This phase is about creating wins early without setting yourself up to quit by week 3, which is actually so common. Most women will quit their new health and wellness journey within 3 weeks because motivation dips and we haven't built the sustainability to keep it going with discipline. All right, so the first phase is 4 weeks. So this is your first month of your journey. Your steps: work out where you're at and increase by 20%. Don't jump to 10,000 steps if you're currently doing 5,000 or 4,000. Interesting stat, most people have a daily step count of 4,000. So don't jump to 10,000 straight away if you are currently doing 4 or 5 or 6,000 steps. Instead, let's take your current daily average and increase it by 20%. So for example, if you're at 5,000 steps, for this first month, you're going to aim for 6,000 a day, which means if you're doing 30,000 steps a week, you're going to go to 36,000 steps a week. Or if you're at 7,000 steps a day, go for 8,500 steps a day. Now you can average this out over the week or over the day, and it might sound small, But this kind of gradual increase is something that will actually stick. It's something that you can build in without having a big change at all on what you do every day. So if you're currently on 5,000 steps, you need to walk another 10 minutes to get to 6,000, right? And when it's something that's so simple and something that sticks, it's going to compound into big results for you. Now, workouts. We're not going to go extreme here either, but ladies, you need to get used to doing some sort of workout. If we want to start balancing our hormones, fighting off perimenopause, and actually building a toned body, the other thing is when we are losing weight, when we are losing body fat, if we are telling our muscles that we need them through doing a workout and putting them under strain, your body is going to take those extra calories to burn from your fat stores, not from your muscles. So we're going to start with 1 or 2, it doesn't matter, full body workouts a week. 1 or 2. If you're already doing 1, maybe we're going to go for 2. If you're doing none, let's start with 1. 2 if you've got the energy. Now, these do not have to be at the gym. They can be body weight only. They can be done at home and they can be done in under 30 minutes. What matters most is that you're challenging your muscles, you're doing it consistently, and you are not trying to be perfect. There is no perfect workout. You just got to show up and do the work. Now, if you're someone who's already doing 1 or 2 workouts a week, stay there, but dial up the intensity, not the frequency. More effort in the session that you're already doing. More effort, push harder, more reps, more time under tension. If you're already doing 30 squats in a workout twice a week, slow those squats down. If you're already doing 30 push-ups each time you do a workout, slow those push-ups down. Change position of the arms to make it harder. Go harder. Now, we've got plenty of easy to follow workouts in our Facebook group, in our app, all those sorts of things. So if you need some, make sure you're following us. Now, when it comes to food, no, I'm not going to give you a specific calorie count to start with. You're just going to clean it up, because just cleaning up what you're putting in your mouth can see a calorie reduction of up to anywhere between 300 and 500 calories a day. So you're going to aim for 90% of your foods coming from natural sources. That means meat, fish, eggs, veggies, fruit, oats, rice, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds. Anything in its most natural form. Yes, ladies, potatoes. Potatoes are a vegetable and they are a really good carbohydrate to fill you up. It's when you load it with butter and cheese that it becomes a huge problem, right? Now, what does that 90% look like? If you eat 28 meals a week, which is 4 meals a day, that allows you 3 not so whole food meals a week, where you might have some wine, or you might have a bit of chocolate, or you might get takeaway, or you might go out for breakfast with someone. This is about structure, ladies, not about restriction. So if you think of it that way, if you think of it, look, I'm going to eat really, really clean, and 3 snacks a week can be chocolate, or 3 snacks a week can be ice cream, or I'm going to go out on the weekend and have a glass of wine and a couple of slices of pizza. If you know that over the week you can have 3 of those, it starts to make it more manageable. We don't want to cut out all the goods, all those things that make you happy, because when we restrict, our brain doesn't stop thinking about it. We don't want to restrict anything. We just want to make the majority of our meals nourishing. And a big tip here, make it from protein. Prioritize your protein, your meats, your eggs, your Greek yogurt, your fish. Prioritize those first. Eat those first. Give yourselves big portions of those, as much as you can, because that is what's going to keep you full. That is what's going to help balance your hormones. And that is what's going to keep you from snacking and craving other things. Now, your water. Figure out how much water you currently drink and add half a litre or 2 cups. So if you're drinking 1 litre, go to 1.5. If you're drinking 2 cups a day, make it 4 cups a day. Now here's a pro tip. Start your day with 500 mils or 2 cups of water before anything else, before your coffee, before your tea, before your breakfast. That alone will make a huge difference in energy, in your digestion, and your cravings throughout the day. So, a quick recap of phase 1. Don't change everything all at once. This is where people go wrong. Just change a few things on purpose. Start where you're at, not where your friend's at, not where you think you should be. Start where you're at now, and let's make these small changes to layer in. You are not chasing motivation here. You are building momentum. And when you build that momentum, things will stick. Now, if you're thinking that this feels too small to make a difference, I promise you it's not. I promise you it's not. These are the foundational habits that your fat loss will be built on. But more than that, these are the habits that are going to keep that fat loss off once you lose it. So have a really good look over these first 4 weeks and see, am I actually eating 90% whole foods? Or am I sneaking some chips in there and some chocolate or some biscuits or some packaged pasta or some 2-minute noodles? What am I creeping in here? Have a really good think, because these are the small shifts that make a big difference. Now, if you need some help with foods to eat or how to get enough protein for your body through those whole foods, please feel free to grab one of our programs on our website, innerfitforwomen.com/shreds. There are plenty of plans there to keep you going with meal ideas for well beyond the first 4 weeks of this program. All right, phase 2. So what are we going to do after those first 4 weeks? Well, depending on how you go in phase 1, you're going to have 2 options here. If you find that in phase 1, you have more energy, you're sleeping better, you're seeing better skin, your clothes are fitting better, and maybe you've lost 3 kilos or more on the scale, I'm going to say stick with what you're already doing for another 4 weeks. Stay there. Don't change anything because it's working. Then go to phase 2. You don't want to go adding any more in when you don't have to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stay there. However, if you find that you have 100% stuck to that plan, and be honest with yourself when you ask that, and you have not yet seen your clothes fitting better, you don't have any more energy, you haven't got sort of hit that 3 kilo or more loss on the scale, then maybe go to phase 2. And here it is. So phase 2 is another 4 weeks. We're going to go another 20% increase in steps. So we're going 20% on what your new count was from phase 1. So if you were going for 6,000 in phase 1, you're now aiming for 7,200 steps every day. You're still going to do 2 workouts. Keep them the same as what you were doing. Just make sure that you are getting as much out of them as possible. Can you add in another set of everything? Can you add in some more push-ups? Can you add in a whole nother set of squats? Can you hold a 2 kilo full milk bottle while you're doing them? Can you hold the movements for longer? Push yourself as much as possible in those workouts. Don't go changing those up at all. Right? We don't want to confuse ourselves. We don't want to put our brain under unnecessary stress of learning something new. Stick with what you're doing. Get more out of it. Again, if you feel like your workouts are not pushing you to your limits, our team is here to show you how. Now, if you're still eating 90% whole foods with processed foods no more than 3 times a week, great, stay there. We want to actually keep this going. Now, if you haven't seen those results in phase 1, this is again a really good time to dial in that nutrition and be sure that you are eating whole natural foods 90% of the time. Make sure of it. Make sure you take those progress pictures too. And your water, let's go up another 2 cups. Let's go up another half a litre. Whatever it was that you were doing in phase 1, make another half a litre an absolute priority. And make sure you take those photos. Now, phase 3. By now, your body is adapting to those changes. You've built some consistency with movement, food, and hydration, and it's time to dial it up a notch. Now, this is not going to be a giant leap. This is not a new you overhaul. We're just going to start moving smarter and more strategic to get the progress, to keep the progress going. So make sure that you assess your results before you hit phase 3. You've already been doing it for 8 weeks now. Where are you at? If you're losing a half a kilo to 1 kilo a week, if you're feeling stronger and more energized, if you're seeing changes in your clothes and your skin, and you are enjoying the process where you're at, you're happy with your step count, you're happy with your workouts, your food's looking good, you're drinking enough water, keep going with phase 2 until it stops working. Until it stops working. Do not fix what isn't broken. If you want to keep it simple, stick with the whole foods without counting calories like you've been doing. If you need to add more steps in, go for it. And if you want to add more intensity, go for it. Okay? This will allow you to keep seeing results and keep your food levels high. The aim is to not have to track our food. That's the aim. However, if your weight loss has stalled for more than 2 weeks and you have genuinely been consistent with those earlier steps, let's move on to phase 3. We're going to go up another 20%. So another 20% on whatever you were doing in phase 2. So if you were on that 7,200, you're now aiming for 8,600, which is about 60,000 steps a week. It is manageable. It is sustainable. And now your daily burn is ticking up without those extra workouts. 8,000 steps a day, ladies, is the recommended minimum for overall good health. We all need to be getting up to that 8,000 steps. Now, your workouts. Stick with your 1 to 2 strength-based workouts every week, but now you might want to change it up a bit if you're getting bored or want to try something new, but you do not have to. Some things that you can add into your workouts to maybe reignite some adaptation would be supersets, tempo training, so like I said, slowing down some of those movements, online classes, which we've got stacks of in our app, and shorter, more intense sessions, so going really, really hard as much as you can. The goal is not more workouts. The goal is better workouts, more intensity, more effort, better form. So just change them up if you absolutely feel you need to. Food. Now, if you're still losing weight and feeling amazing with whole foods alone, keep it up. There's no need to calorie count. But if you've been doing everything as per the plan and the scale hasn't budged for a little while, and by a little while I mean a couple of weeks, not just 1 week, because sometimes the scales won't move week to week, or you feel stuck, this is where you can get more specific if you want to. Now, if you are someone who likes tracking, you're going to love these numbers, right? So the target is 1,800 calories a day, but you are still sticking to 90% whole foods. This is not a free-for-all to eat whatever you want within the 1,800 calories. This is about giving your body the right amount of fuel to keep burning fat while protecting your hormones, your metabolism, and your muscle mass. If you now go to eating 1,800 calories of whatever you damn like, which includes a lot more processed rubbish, you are not going to see the same results. You're actually going to feel so much worse than you have been. And ladies, no, we are not going to jump to 1,200 calories because that's going to backfire fast. When that plateaus, where do you go? Where do you go from 1,200? So we're going to start at 18, adjust only if needed as we move through these phases. Minimum 1,800 calories, ladies. Keeping in mind, remembering that you're starting 85 to 90 or above. or above. You might be 100 kilos, you might be 120 kilos, you might be 150 kilos. We are not jumping down to 1,200 calories. That's ridiculous. We're going to start at 1,800 as a minimum, no less. Now your water, we're now getting really super focused on a number. We're aiming for 2 liters a day. This is 8 cups. You're going to need more if it's hot. You're going to need more around your training times. So my biggest tips are that 500 mils first thing in the morning, because there's a quarter of it done already. Sip before your meals, sip between your meals. So have a bottle with you all day and have a glass of water or 2 glasses of water every time you eat something. I have all of my clients do that one, the 1 full glass every time you put food in your mouth, and it makes a huge difference. And it will keep your digestion down, your energy high, and your hunger levels in check. Water is so underrated. Now, as we start to look at calories, once you've finished phase 3, and like I said, it was phase 3A. We can see here it was phase 3A, right? Because there are 2 phases to phase 3. We might need to get to a point where we change our calories, but you need to do an honesty check first. This is where most women say, I'm doing everything right, but nothing's working. When in reality, our tracking has gone a bit loose. So before we move on to phase 3B, you really need to ask yourself, am I sticking to mostly whole foods? Realistically. Am I hitting my step targets? Am I doing workouts with intention? Am I going as hard as I actually can in those workouts? And am I actually tracking my food? Or am I grabbing a handful of nuts here and there? Or finishing whatever's on the kids' plate and just not tracking them? A slice of cheese occasionally, a bit of butter on something. Have I gone to putting butter on my potato? Am I putting sauce on my chicken breast? Now, if all of those things here on the screen are a yes, and your progress for whatever reason has stalled, and it's not the week of your cycle that you normally gain weight, right? We need to take that into consideration too. Then we're going to move to phase 3B. So it's pretty much the same as 3A, except that we're going to drop the calories down to 1,700, but only if you've been consistent, you are actually not seeing any fat loss, you still have quite a bit more weight to lose, and your hunger, your energy, and your sleep are still in a good place. So you're going to do at least 4 weeks on the 1,800 calories, at least. If after that first 4 weeks, not much is changing, and you are 100% doing everything we suggested here on this screen, then we suggest just taking a few more calories off, not going less than 1,700. If, however, you were on the 1,800 and on that 3A plan and things are moving nicely, stay there. Don't move. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix. Do not cut calories just because you're impatient. That is the fastest way to ruin your metabolism, drop your energy levels, and reverse your results. Now, the other thing is not to ignore poor sleep or high stress just to chase a lower number on the scale. That lower number on the scale means nothing if you feel like crap, if you don't sleep, if you're just losing muscle and strength, if you are highly stressed, which losing muscle and strength and not getting enough sleep will do. All of this will be for nothing. and you'll see that weight that you have lost come straight back on. So phase 3B is optional. If you are seeing good results at 1,800 calories or just focusing on whole foods and increasing those movement areas and water, stay there. Do not move on to the next phase at all. If you are finding a spot where things are working, stay there. You will continue to lose that body fat. The higher that you can keep calories while still losing body fat, the better, because it means you're losing body fat and not muscle. Get as much out of eating more and moving less as you possibly can. If you are seeing a steady loss of half a kilo or more, of half a kilo a week, and are happy to stay there, please do it. Now, if you actually genuinely need to go a little bit harder, honestly, here is what I would recommend. Phase 4. So it's another 4 weeks. If you have followed those previous phases, still have more fat to lose, phase 4 is where we tighten things up a little bit more. Nothing extreme, just intentional effort for maximum impact. Think of this as your prove it to yourself phase, not to be perfect, but to show yourself what you're actually capable of when you truly focus. So with your steps, you've got 2 options here. You are either going to hit 9,000 steps as a minimum if you are under 9,000 steps, which you shouldn't be far under it by now if you've been increasing at 20% all the way through. Or if you are already over 9,000 steps, just increase again by another 20. So if you were on 10,000 steps a day, you're going to go to 12,000 steps a day. Probably don't need to go more than 12. Wherever you're at, 12,000 steps is probably pretty good. We might need to dial in on workouts if we're hitting sort of more than 12,000 steps a day, unless you're a runner. Then that's a nutrition thing. Don't drop below the 9,000 daily mark this week unless you're sick, right? Make this a focus. This level of movement keeps your metabolism humming and helps drive that final layer of fat loss. 9,000 steps is a really good baseline to handle moving forward for overall health and wellness anyway. So think of this as your new level 1, basically. So a little bit of a pro tip, if you need to, 2 or 3 walks a day can make the 9,000 feel easier. If you have an office job, you would want to be going for a 40 to 45-minute walk in the morning or the nighttime and be getting up every hour and walking for 5 minutes. Walk wherever you can. Park further away. All those things that you've heard before. Yeah, I know I need to do that. This is the time to do it. You want that 20-kilo loss? This is what you're going to need to do it. You might need to go for a half an hour walk in the morning and at night time. Walk more throughout the day. You'd be surprised how much your incidental movement can have a big impact on your body. Now, workouts, same. 1 to 2 full body strength workouts a week. But here's the deal in phase 4. You have to show up and give it your all. If you know that you've been half-assing it till now, now's the time to give it everything. Are you actually pushing yourself as hard as you possibly can? Do you have anything left in the tank on those last reps? When you do that last squat, are you struggling to come back up? If not, you need to do more intensity or add some weights. Like grab some, a couple of milk bottles or juice bottles or whatever and add them to it. Could you actually do 1 more rep? Am I actually working out with intention or am I just going through the motions? Because ladies, you don't necessarily need to add more sessions, especially if you're not like looking to build stacks of muscle. You don't need more sessions to burn fat. You do need to get more out of the sessions you're already doing because none of us have time for heaps and heaps of workouts, right? We're all busy. Get the most out of what you're doing when you're doing it. Now, food. The target is a minimum 1,600 calories a day, still at 90% whole foods. Now, I know 16 starts to sound a bit low, but I promise you it's nowhere near as low as a lot of things. You've worked your way down safely to here over time. You are still fueling your body with real food, and this is going to be a short focus phase. This is not going to be forever. Now, remember that if you are seeing results at 1800 or 1700 or not even counting, you're just eating whole foods, you are not going to touch phase 4 in terms of food. Don't touch phase 4 in terms of food. Now, what we don't want to do is think about this as restriction. This is a strategy. Don't cut out whole food groups. Just eat whole foods, eat with purpose, stick to those foods that are going to fill you up. Protein with every single meal. Get used to having boiled eggs in your fridge or Greek yogurt. Get used to having meat for 2 or 3 meals a day. Keep your fiber-rich foods in there, your vegetables, your potatoes, your oats, your fruit. Do not be afraid of fruit. I'm not even going to go into that right now. And your healthy fats. Make sure you're adding in your avocados, your nuts. Now, you absolutely can still have that bit of chocolate or a glass of wine here and there, but not every day. Not every second day. Ladies, you're in the home stretch now. How badly do you want this? Water is 2 liters a day, no excuses. Carry that water bottle, set reminders if you have to. Have that 500 ml as you start and wake up. Hydration is going to support that fat metabolism. It's going to help with cravings, particularly if you do end up on 1600 calories. Now, this is the phase where women say, I've been pretty good till here. I'm going to coast to the finish line. You can totally do that. But if you want to see that 20 kilo shift in that 6 months, if you want to feel leaner and lighter and more powerful in the next 6 months, and for those at the time of this recording, that's going to be Christmas. This is your momentum to lock in. Remember that you don't need perfection. You just need consistency, and you need to be honest with yourself. Now, your last little bit. So we're sitting at the 20-week mark. There is a phase 5. This isn't just about losing a few more kilos. This is really, more than anything, proving to yourself that you can follow through with something the whole way, because most people would have given up by now. Most people would have given up by now. Can you do it? Can you take yourself over the finish line? You've got those foundations locked in. Let's dial in with a bit more structure, but still no extremes, ladies. We are aiming for 10,000 steps a day minimum, or 20% on where you were in the last phase, right? Take the dog for a walk, move between meals, take a break every hour, just get outside. Make sure you're getting some sunshine as much as possible. This is about moving more as a lifestyle, not just to hit those goals. So by now it should be ingrained as your daily habit. Still sticking with 1 to 2 strength-based workouts. If you want a bit of variety or need some more mobility, add in yoga or Pilates. That's going to help with your core strength and recovery as well. Right, remember that we don't need to do more to get more results, particularly in terms of workouts. Just make it more focused and intentional in what you're doing. Now we're fine-tuning the food. 15 to 1600 calories per day, still focused on whole foods 90% of the time, more if you need to. You might have found by now that you don't like those non-whole foods. You don't like processed foods as much. They make you feel like crap. That's great. If you're like nearly 100% eating whole foods, you're going to be feeling and looking amazing by now, right? Protein stays high, your veggies stay high, your meals stay simple. Now, if you're hungry all the time at 1500, which you shouldn't be, and remember that you're only on that 15 to 1600 mark if you've gone through the other phases and you're still not losing, right? Remember, you will have stopped and stayed at the other phases until you see no more results. But if you are hungry, make sure you check your sleep and your stress levels, because they will contribute to perceived hunger. Look at your food quality. Make sure you're filling up on proteins and good fats and veggies, green veggies, particularly with the fiber in them. They will help keep you full. And make sure that you hover closer to that 1600 mark. This is not about how miserable you can make yourself. You don't need to suffer through misery. Now, this phase will require 2.5 to 3 litres of water a day, especially if you're increasing steps or you are in warmer weather. Hydration, ladies, is no longer optional. It's the backbone of your energy, your digestion, your metabolism, your hunger, and your mood, not to mention your skin. Start your water early in the day, sip through your meals, keep it consistent. This is going to help with keeping that last bit of fat loss to come off. A few things to remember. You don't have to starve yourself. In fact, that is the worst thing you can do. Please stop doing that. Never do that again. If you do get hungry, load up on green veggies and proteins. Go harder with what you do rather than adding more, particularly when it comes to workouts. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I want you to remember this. You didn't put on 20 kilos in 3 months, so stop rushing yourself. Stop expecting to lose 20 kilos in 3 months. Even the 6-month mark is a brilliant achievement, but it's going to be hard for most people. Remembering that you've actually got to have that body fat to lose. Now, you've just seen exactly how I would lose 20 kilos in 6 months, how I would ask my clients to do it too. It all takes some measuring, it all takes some checking in, but we want to make sure, and this is how I operate with it, with all of the things that we do in this space, without extreme diets, without cutting out entire food groups, and without burning out at the gym. We don't need to do that. Now, the question is simple. Are you ready? Are you going to keep collecting more information on this diet and this food and that food? Or are you actually ready to start implementing? Because here's the truth. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another diet. Women need a system that they can actually stick to and a space that keeps you consistent when life gets busy. That's why I created the Innerfit app, so you can stop guessing, you can stop starting over, and you can start making the progress you need. So if you're ready to lose the weight without losing your mind, if you're ready to feel better and stay that way, and finally follow a plan that works with your lifestyle, not against it, we can help. Right there on the screen is what we have in our app. We have a couple of options. We have a more hands-on approach, or we have a very base level where you've got access to everything. If you are interested in finding out more, either head to our website, innerfitforwomen.com, or DM me privately. We can get you started. But we are going to start right where you are now. And we're going to build a version of your routine that you can actually live with and stick with. You don't have to go it alone. You just have to get started. A huge thank you for joining me tonight, ladies. If you do have any questions, of course, that's what we're here for. Make sure you give us a follow. Make sure you ask any questions in the chat and the team will get back to you. I really hope that you have learned something tonight. I hope that your journey moving forward is beautiful and fits in with your lifestyle. Please feel free to take the information in tonight's session and run with it. Feel free to let me know how you go through each phase. And above all, remember to take photos to watch your epic transformation, because it is going to feel like you barely did anything at all.